Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am here to talk about Alex Caceres versus Daniel Pineda. Daniel Pineda is 28 and 14, 37 years old, and he's given up 3 inches of height and 3 inches of reach to Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy, as you might know him, who is 34 years old and has a record of 20 and 13. Pineda, let's start with him. Natural born finisher, 28 wins. He's got 28 finishes, 9 by knockouts, 19 by submission. And he should have had another 2, but he tested positive for whatever the fuck and had 2 fights overturned in the same night. And they would be 2 of his very best victories in his career. Knocked out Movlid Khabibulov, who's kicking ass and winning millions of dollars in the PFL. And he submitted Jeremy Kennedy, former UFC fighter, who's again kicking ass. Actually, he's in Bellator now, I think. Either way. But Daniel Pineda is a great finisher, really good submission artist. He's been submitted 6 times, but every one of those losses comes before 2010. 2010. That was his last submission loss. A knee bar to Chaz Skelly, who actually knee barred him twice, like a year or 2 apart. But again, Pineda has since then patched up his submission defense, and his submission offense has been there for him. His last win against Tucker Lutz got him out of there with a guillotine in round 2. That was a fine performance from Pineda. Again, Jeremy Kennedy, if he won the fight, it was with a guillotine. And whoever else. I think he tapped out Ray Trujillo. I don't know. But anyway, Daniel Pineda, he has been defeated plenty of times, and not just by submission. He was knocked out recently to Cub Swanson. That was his last loss, which at this point seems like it was 2 years ago, but it was a big knockout. Cub cracked him with a beautiful right cross, just a fucking beautiful knockout, and Pineda went down. Pineda has been knocked out 3 times, which isn't too much over the course of a 40-plus fight career, but for a guy who's 37, you know, you got to mention it. Here, though, I think he's safe from a knockout, although I said that exact same shit about Julian Erosa in Caceres' last fight. But Erosa, I really don't trust his chin. I didn't trust it before that fight, after that fight, whatever. Daniel Pineda, I trust his chin more. Even though he's older and he's been knocked out a few times, I think Caceres would have to land the perfect shot like he did with Erosa, and it would have to be something powerful like a head kick. But I don't think his punches are going to knock Daniel Pineda out. Still, I think his punches are going to beat Daniel Pineda. Caceres is a really good outside striker. He's very fast, very good movement, does have 3 inches of height and 3 inches of reach. And overall, I think he's a more versatile striker than Pineda. Caceres, let's get into his record. 20 and 13. The 20 wins come 4 by knockout, 7 by submission, 9 by decision. And the 13 losses, 1 by knockout, Francisco Rivera in the UFC, 7 by submission, and 5 by decision. The submission losses, 2 of them come by rear naked choke in the first year or 2 of his career. And then once he got to the UFC, which he's been in the UFC for 10, 15 years now, he lost 5 times by submission. All 5 of them are rear naked chokes. All 5. Uriah Faber, Crone Gracie, Jason Knight, Jimmy Hedis, excellent fighter back then, and Mackin Semenzier. Caceres has that neck. Now, Pineda, he's got plenty of rear naked chokes throughout his career, but his primary weapon is a guillotine. I don't want to say, he's not going to rear naked choke him. You can guillotine anybody that can be rear naked. So I do think if Daniel Pineda is able to smother Caceres, take him down, or even bully him against the cage and in the clinch like he was doing to Tucker Lutz as well, I do think Caceres' neck could present itself to Pineda, and he could be in some danger. I think even if he's not conceding takedowns, he just doesn't want to be on the inside with Daniel Pineda. Not only because that's where Pineda's strengths lie, but it's because that's not where Caceres' strengths lie. Caceres wants to be on the outside, and on the outside, I think he's got the most distinct advantage in this fight with his outside striking. And that's why I expect to carry him to a victory here. Caceres has been beaten on the outside as well. He's been beaten up, but most of the time you beat him, you have to go through him and take him down. You know, the submission losses, and even guys like a Sadiq Yusuf bullying him. Sadiq won that fight with a lot of grappling. But on the feet, though, I expect Caceres to win the battle. You know, this is not Yair Rodriguez that he's fighting here and Daniel Pineda, even though Caceres somehow made that a split decision anyway to Yair way back when. And that was a 5-rounder. But I'm picking Caceres to win. I do think Caceres is crafty enough to stay out of danger from Pineda when he's in there, if he's in there. And I think the majority of this fight takes place on the feet with Caceres bullying him around. So I'm taking Caceres to win. I like him to win an outfighting point battle on the outside. Minus 180 is his money line, but the decision line is plus 275. So I've played both of those. I do think there's value on his decision line. It's his primary path to victory, in my opinion, even though the majority of Pineda's losses come by finish. The 6 submissions were way back before 2010, and the 3 knockouts are spread out throughout his 40-plus fights. And Caceres, despite having a big knockout in his recent victory, he doesn't have too many other knockouts. The only other TKO he's got in the UFC is an eye injury over the last 15 years. So chins would have to fail and perfect shots would have to land for Caceres to knock out Pineda, in my opinion. I think Caceres wins a point battle and gets the decision. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.